Somebody asked me if I'm a fine voice today. Yes, actually I am, but I'm being gentle. Good morning. Thank you, Matthew, for bringing your musical talents these weeks, and we are fortunate. We're fortunate with so many musicians. We're going to have John and James later in the service today, and we welcome all of you. Later in this service, we're going to make all of you musical composers. You're going to help. You're going to help during the children's time. So we're going to have to get our greeter in when we get to the words of wisdom. So we do that. Our announcements this morning. I want to remind you that we do have a system that can work with hearing aids that have a T-coil setting. We have the message that runs on the screen, but sometimes you may not see that. Or if you want the headphones, you can do that. What we found this week, too, is we've been offering a portable system for our small group meetings here in the building. And that really does help out for everyone to be able to participate, hear what's going on. We are in the midst of our discount month of registering for our retreat at the mountain the second weekend of September. We will be enjoying our time out in the beauty and the scenery of that area, and that is where the worship service will be. We did this last year where we had some technical glitches, but hey, we now know how to do it so that the worship service will be beamed from the mountain just an hour and 15 minutes from here. For those of you who aren't traveling there, you can sit here, but I would say all of you should sign up to be at the mountain. We've got room for, I think, up to 35 people, and I would love to fill our quota. My voice is in fine shape today. Let's just put that. I did come on in. And I did also want to let people know, if you didn't read it in the the update newsletter that went out electronically, I have the next 3 Sundays off, and you have guest speakers. And there are some really good guest speaker topics coming up, folks that we're really pleased to be able to offer to you. It's going to be terrific. It's going to be better than the way I'm speaking today. It's going to have a variety and wonder. And so do show up. Our guest speakers will appreciate the presence in the audience for their messages. That also means I don't have quite as much responsibility. And so I've got a bit of a break. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go to meetings. I'm still going to attend some scheduled meetings. It still means I'm available for pastoral care on call. But it means I'm not around the office so much. And I need that break. I need that chance to take a breath and start preparing my mind after emptying it out for the new year. So just wanted to let you know. Those are our primary announcements for this morning. I will be asking you now to let me know if, as you entered this room, you came with a joy or a sorrow that you'd like us to name out loud and light a candle about. We have one candle lit already for something, and I will call somebody forward for that one. You can say from your seats what's going on with you, but I would like to know in advance which people I'm going to call on for their sharing. So I have Gail and Leslie and Rick and Jema and Susan. I'm going to try to remember the 5 of you to do this. I'm going to start with Leslie for our news from LHHH, our care team.
Just hear from Loving Hearts, Helping Hands, and bringing a rose in memory of Joanne Mills, who is the daughter of Ernie Mills and Diane Mills. And he was our first settlement minister and is our minister emeritus.
And Joanne passed away this week after a long battle with brain cancer. I'd like to light an anonymous candle for a person who just got diagnosed with a tumor. And we'll probably have more to share once we know more. All right, now let's see if I can go to Rick.
Yes, I still want us to remember our niece Kayla. She's in her 15th week of treatment, chemotherapy, and she just started her second phase.
So Rick was saying we're lighting a candle to hold Kayla, who's in her chemotherapy, and let's continue to hold her in the light. And then Gail.
I have a joy. Bill and I went to Florida this past week, and we were able to spend time with all of our children, and about half of our grandchildren. And so that was nice.
Wonderful. And welcome back from Florida, and you and Bill having the chance to see your children and grandchildren. It's wonderful. Jema.
I have a joy and a sorrow. I guess the sorrow would still be in remembrance of Tim. And my joy is I really appreciate how many of you have sent me cards or gotten a hold of me or sent me wishes or just done things. Made Sunday dinner for me last Sunday. I do appreciate it, and I know Tim appreciates it too.
Jema said a bit of sorrow, of course, still with remembrance of Tim, and a joy of the many cards that you all have been sending and just doing things for her. Thank you. Yeah. Susan.
I have two things. One, joy. My son, Ben, just finished his round of chemo, which followed radiation. And so he has a break, and maybe that's it until September. And then I have a joy mixed with a bit of sorrow now. I mentioned, I think it was just last week, that Elizabeth Thompson and her partner, her wife, River Freeman, had made it to California camping across the country to meet relatives. And they're headed home now in a bit of a rush. Elizabeth is driving 8 to 10 hours a day, and they're staying in hotels because she can't care for River in the little camper anymore. River is declining.
So for those of you at home who didn't hear this, Susan was saying a joy that her son Ben finished his chemo, but good to be through those rounds, and also a separate joy mixed with sorrow because Elizabeth Thompson and River, who were on their cross-country trip, are now rushing home as River can't be cared for in a camper and needs to come back here. Thank you for the joys and sorrows that have been lifted up. And let's remember during coffee hour to meet and greet and hear more about each other's lives, because this is how we weave together the fabric of community. Have you lit one for those things not yet shared, and for those people online who may be typing into a chat box? Thank you. And now with that, may we turn to one another and have a recognition of the worthiness of each one of us.
It's in upstate New York and Kentucky. He's the author of A Temporary State of Grace Meditations, published by our own Skinner House Books. Come down off of that ladder. Wash out that paintbrush. Shake the sand out of your shoes. Get up off your muddy knees and give the garden a morning off. Fold up that newspaper. Turn off the coffee pot. Close up that calendar already filled with dates, times, and people and places that claim you. This church is ready for you to fill its rooms, to create its spirit, to generate its warmth, to kindle its light. This church is ready for you to make community, to create beauty, to bend it toward justice, to serve its ideals. This church is ready for you to be here, honoring its past, invigorating our present, and dreaming our future. This is your church. Here we are home. Here we are whole. Let us begin. Come, let us worship together. And let's start by rising in body or spirit, as you're willing and able, to sing together hymn number 42, Morning So Fair to See. I feel like that we can kind of claim that hymn because of the mountains. Before we read the chalice lighting words together, let me introduce you to the Reverend Florence Caplow. She's the minister of the UU Church of Urbana-Champaign in Illinois. Before becoming a minister, she was a botanist for 25 years, specializing in the conservation of endangered plants. She's a writer and an ordained Soto Zen priest, and she's edited 2 books, Wild Branch, which is an anthology of nature and environmental writing, and The Hidden Lamp, this is fascinating to me, a collection of 100 teaching stories by Buddhist women over 2,500 years.
Sunlight streams through a rounded window. We kindle this flame, honoring the doorways in our souls, the windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of sky, the thresholds we stand on this morning, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming. Maybe so.
All right, our words for wisdom this morning. I'm going to be talking a lot to Katie over here, but we've got some pieces of this that I think are going to work for all ages, Katie. And I gave you a little something to hold on to for our lesson this morning. I'm going to read from Robin Wall Kimmerer, and this part is for the people over here, but you can hear it too. And those of you who may know, this is from Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. So you can hold in your hand. We're talking about what you got in your hand. Scientists are interested in how the marriage of algae and fungus occurs, and so they've tried to identify the factors that induce two species to live as one. But when researchers put the two together in a laboratory and provide them with ideal conditions for both algae and fungus, they give each other the cold shoulder and proceed to live separate lives. In the same culture dish, like the most platonic of roommates they are. The scientists were puzzled and began to tinker with the habitat, altering one factor and then another, but still no lichen. It was only when they severely curtailed the resources, when they created harsh and stressful conditions, that the two would turn towards each other and begin to cooperate. Only with severe need did they curl around each other. When times are easy and there's plenty to go around, individual species can go it alone. But when conditions are harsh and life is tenuous, it takes a team sworn to reciprocity to keep life going. In a world of scarcity, interconnection and mutual aid become critical for survival. So say the lichens. So, Katie, you have a lichen in your hand, and up on the screen there's a glimpse of a picture of a tree I took that's in the backyard of the house I grew up in, with lichen growing on. Now, that is a living plant, although the one that's in your hand isn't going to live very long if it just stays separate from its environment. And I'm going to say that we are going to write a country song about lichen. Why? Why? Because I'm talking about country songs in the sermon, so we ought to do that. Because a pop song that your grandparents might know that was about starlight already took up really good words. Glitty glub gloopy, nibby nobby nooby, la 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 lo lo. Saba sibby saba, nooby abba dabba, li li lo lo. Early morning sing a song, sing sing song, singing, sing 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 song. So that pop song already took all the good words. And then we have a folk song. There's something called folk music. And Alan Atkinson, from his album Whole Lotta Shopping Going On, has the strangely popular Lichen song, which is one of his best-selling songs on the iTunes store. And the chorus goes like this: Freddie Fungus and Alice Algae took a lichen to each other. Yeah. Yeah. They grew so very close, now you can't tell one from the other. All right, so that's a folk song. Country songs, though, and Katie, can you think of sad things? Can you think of things that have gone wrong? All right. Country songs got to start from there. Something went wrong. And the scientists found out what something went wrong. To make lichen, you have to have a fungus and either a bacteria or an algae. And they have to be so desperate with the conditions that are around them that they decide they're going to partner up and they're going to survive. They're going to transform. They're going to become one. All right? It's kind of like marrying, being best friends, setting up a household, whatever you want to call it. So we got to think of a song. Now, is there anything that what I've said you want to make sure is in this song? How about you folks? Anything in this? Can you think what? Partner up. Okay, we're going to put that in there. What else? Come on. We're going to write a country song here. What was that, Vicki? Broken hearted. Broken heart. Okay, broken heart in here. Me and my dog were hiking. And we saw a lichen. Me and my dog were hiking and we saw a lichen. That's a good start. Thank you, Bob. And we're going to get broken hearted in there, and we're going to. We could have a pickup truck, but I don't think so. Maybe a bear. Maybe we could have a bear in there. All right. What do the scientists say? Scientists said harsh conditions. So what are we going to say? All right. I was nearly dying on a tree when the rain dried up. Yeah, all right. So it's the beginning. It's the beginning. All right, so we got it. So Bob, remind me again, I was in the woods hiking and I saw some lichen or something like that? Yeah. Me and my dog were hiking and we saw some lichen. It was a nasty, cold, dry day. And was no good for biking as we went hiking. And my dog wanted to run away. But we listened to this lichen, and this lichen said to me, I was this lonely fungus living among us. And there, with my heart broken so alone, I saw this algae right across from me. And we embraced one another because we knew we couldn't make it alone. Oh, the drought is so hard for all of us, but we made it through. All right. And it was so cold. And if you ever left me, my heart would be broken. Is there anything, how do we end this song? The frost was biting and my heart was aching. But I know I need you to survive. And you use around the corner. Heard this song a little longer and made it come alive. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Thank you, Katie. Do you like our lichen song? I'm glad that is very kind of you to say so. I think if we worked on it better, we could have more. But thank you for displaying the algae. You can keep it if you want algae. You don't want algae. And it's lichen now, but I'm liking this. You can hear this song as many times as you want. Go to YouTube, go 25 minutes into the recording, and you can hear it again and again to your liking. Send it off to Nashville. Oh, it's just a little algae in a frozen pond. How did you get on the tree? I don't get that part. That's all right. Thank you for listening to our words of wisdom for all ages. I'll explain more why we went through this exercise. Your minister has real, true purpose in all of this. This is a time in the service in which I ask you to be generous. I got you to laugh. Now I got to get you to be generous. To give money to this congregation and also to the special offering that we have. I'm going to ask Joanna to come up and explain our special offering, and we'll have the slide appearing behind us.
Good morning. I'm Joanna Bliss, and I've got a hard act to follow. It is my privilege to serve as coordinator for the Dignity Project.
Doug, could we have the sound up? Thanks. There we go.
I say privilege because I've been a member here from the beginning and always hoped we could find a form of community service that would be unique to us. So when I learned in 2018 that Reverend Eileen and the social action team had identified personal hygiene products as an unmet need in our community, I knew we were on the right track. After all, where else in Brevard would you hear about feminine hygiene products and condoms from the pulpit? We no longer supply those feminine hygiene products as another organization in Western North Carolina expanded into Transylvania County 3 years ago and took over meeting that need. That left us with more resources for the items we continue to supply to our less fortunate neighbors, so they can face the world with dignity. Razors and shaving cream, deodorant, soap and shampoo, toothpaste and toothbrushes, and nail clippers, diapers and wipes, and condoms. These items are not eligible for purchase through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP. Yet they are items needed every day, and their purchase means giving up something else. I ask you, imagine seeking assistance or a job or housing without feeling clean and groomed. This project is based on Unitarian Universalism's first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We partner with the Bread of Life, the Children's Center, El Centro, Rise and Shine, Safe, and Sharing House to meet needs identified by these agencies and to distribute these products to the organizations to pass on to our neighbors in need. The Dignity Project is funded by an annual congregation-wide collection, plus some individual monthly contributions. This month is that annual collection. Please use the envelopes in the offering basket to donate to this, our very own community outreach project. And if you would like to make an ongoing monthly contribution, please contact the office to help set that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Michael. What is given in love we receive with great joy, and we say, thank you. I invite you into a moment of prayer and silent meditation. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here come with our hearts full, sometimes overflowing with the joys and the wonder, and sometimes deeply into sadness and grief. In particular, this morning, our hearts go out to the Reverend Ernie Mills and Diane upon the death of their daughter this week. We know that their road has been hard, and our love goes out to them. Our hearts also go out to Jema and her sorrow and remembrance of Tim and all who knew and loved Tim. But our joys as well, of the ways in which we show our love and our connection through our cards and just doing something that might be of use. May we be of use in this world. Our hearts go out to those who are going through chemo, in particular, Kayla and Ben. May they finish up well in their treatments. Our hearts are among those who are not with us here. The joys of having returned from seeing children, as Gail and Bill did in Florida, or those who have wondered about Elizabeth and River's travels, our congregants on the road, who we now know with sorrow are rushing home because of River's decline. May they know they are coming home, not just to a base, a place, and doctors, but a community of embrace. Spirit of love and life, we hold ourselves together in the light of this love and the hope and the joy, even in the midst of all the challenges that beset each one of us from one time to another. These, the prayers of our hearts and the thoughts in our minds we hold now in this silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen. Blessed be.
Unfortunately, John and I don't have any country songs that we can share today. Or maybe fortunately, but.
Now, wait just a minute. I got
Oh,
one.
you do? Oh, what?
Another time I'll do it.
I never thought that there could be a love like yours and mine.
I never dreamed that I would see the day that I would find a love that feels just right. But here we are today, and now the only thing we really need is time. We live on borrowed time. No one can be sure when the loan will finally come due. But I'm loving all of mine. I know what time is for. I've borrowed it so I can spend it all right here with you. There was a time when I believed that life held guarantees. There was a time when I was sure my future was secure. But life had other plans. The future's in God's hands, and knowing that has let me live and love you more. We live on borrowed time. Yesterday is past. Tomorrow seems a million miles away. But I promise you that I'm gonna make love last by living every moment, every hour, every day. Now we may have a year, and we may have a lifetime. No one can be certain what the future will allow. But you and I are here, and this time is the right time. And one thing that we know is that we have each other now. And now we live on borrowed time. Let's celebrate and sing as we walk bravely into the unknown. 'Cause we're gonna be just fine. Whatever life may bring, we'll face it all together, and we'll never be alone. We live on borrowed time. Let's celebrate and sing. We may not have forever, but our time will be our own. Our own.
I picked out a reading from our hymn book in the back. This one happens to be number 521. It's an oldie but a goodie. When I say oldie, this guy was born in 265 AD. Eusebius? Yeah, like early church, really way back. May I be no one's enemy, and may be the friend of that which is eternal and abides. May I wish for every person's happiness and envy none. May I never rejoice in the ill fortune of one who has wronged me. May I, to the extent of my power, give needful help to all who are in want. May I never fail a friend. May I respect myself. May I always keep tame that which rages within me. May I accustom myself to be gentle and never be angry with others because of circumstances. May I know good people and follow in their footsteps. this sermon is based on a Tim McGraw song. Just came out this spring. It was released before the album was. And it gave me a moment to think. Now, I credit my wife, Christy, for saying that this song existed, because in her car, more likely to hear Tim McGraw. I want to talk about standing room only. Lyrics go like this: I get so mad at things that don't matter way too much. I let the way back winds, and my old friends scatter like they were dust. I get to chasing that rainbow pot of gold right into the pouring rain with nothing to show for it, standing there soaking wet. Looking up, shaping my fist as the thunder rolls. Now and then on nights I catch a thunderbolt. I want to live a life like a dollar and a clock on the wall don't own me. Shine a light like mama's front porch when I'm lost and lonely. Start forgiving and start forgetting. Be somebody that's worth remembering. To live a life so that when I die, there's standing room only. Standing room only. When I was growing up, in our household, at different times, depending on which person controlled the radio, there was a country music station in Connecticut. I say a country music station because I don't think there was more than one. And that country music station owned about 10 records. And we heard them over and over again when that radio was on. My parents liked folk music. My dad then veered into country as a close relative of folk. And so I think of my dad when I hear country songs, and there's a whole part of me that says, yeah, that's my dad's music, and it didn't sink in for me. But yet, some of it did. Some of every kind of genre of music has songs that you say, why? Why? Like glibby clop gloopy, newbie nobby newbie, la 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 lo, sing 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 a song 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 sing sing. But it was popular, you know? That was on the other station. That one on the country station. Every kind of music has something that lifts up, though, and hits your heart. And I'm going to get scientific on you because I hear you use like that of their preacher, that he's read stuff and is educated and all. So I'm going to read a little bit here from some studies. So we'll go, there's this easy to read kind of wellness website, verywellmind.com, but it points to original research, real stuff that's been vetted, and even their articles are usually vetted by a medical professional. And this was on particular musical preferences and personality types with musical styles. And so some of this is from the American Journal of Psychology, Individual Differences in Musical Taste from 2010 by A.C. North, or some of this is from another one that was published by D.M. Greenberg and all, Musical Preferences Linked to Cognitive Styles from 2015. And what they found was in research of 36,518 participants, if you want to get specific, rated their liking for 104 musical styles and completed a short form of the Big Five personality inventory, and then provided other data about their favorite musical styles. Now, country, what it boiled down to in this article, country. These fans typically identified as hardworking, conventional, outgoing, and conservative. Although country music frequently centers on heartbreak, people who prefer it tended to be emotionally stable. I'm not going to tell you about the ups and downs and personalities of those who listen to other types of music, because it's going to likely annoy you. And I'll quote here, the study suggests that people define themselves through music and use it as a means to relate to other people. This explains why people sometimes feel defensive about their tastes in music. A criticism about their music feels to them like a criticism of them. So we're not going to talk anymore about pop music, rock music, or anything else, okay? Just be nice. But one of the other scientific things that came out of this was previous research found that group music making can increase empathy and pro-social behavior. It's reasonable to hypothesize that certain types of music may increase empathy more than others. Country and folk are in the, quote, unpretentious category and are related to personalities with more of an empathy quotient. So they've measured that. Now, so country and folk are in the unpretentious category, but there is no pretentious music category. How it got that name, I don't know, but you know, it works. Country music. So why did I have us write a song about lichen this morning in country music style? Because scientifically that will build better empathy, right? Group music making can create empathy and pro-social behavior. And I tell you, this world needs more pro-social behavior. So, next time, I don't know, you're in some situation where it seems like everything's going really sideways. Think of the Music Man and the school board and making them sing together. Or think of something in which you can gather together a few people and make up something together. Anyway, back to Tim McGraw. Tim McGraw says that his message was that to live a life filled with gratitude and don't take things for granted. Now, this is basic religion, folks. How do we love our neighbor? How do we live a life that's a little better and makes things work? This country's founders knew that. I don't know, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I got a quote from Jim Null, sends out quotes to me occasionally, and this week he sent one from John Quincy Adams, the 6th president of the U.S., and by the way, a Unitarian, who said, "The influence of each human being on others in this life is a kind of immortality." And I think that's part of what these songs are talking about too. How am I remembered? How am I living in a way that's remembered? How am I living in a way that I'm remembered the way I want to be remembered is really it. Now, in barbershop, we're singing some old classics, and sometimes some country songs come into our repertoire and we sing them barbershop style. Lately I have noticed all my friends avoiding me, and that girl who loves me up and said goodbye. My whole world is coming apart and falling in on me, and I guess deep down I know the reason why. This is Ray Stevens. Ray Stevens is not his most popular song, but around 1970, it made it into the country charts. Maybe it got up to number 63. Have a little talk with myself. Have a little talk with myself. A little private conversation, a little self-examination, a little attitude correction, a little soul searching and introspection. Start heading in the right direction. Take a little walk with myself. Because lately, it says, I've been living for my ego. And that's not working. Not working. All right, so skip ahead from 1970. Let's look, Tim McGraw again. We're going to skip way ahead to 2004. Live Like You Were Dying. Now, it happens to be that this song and his newest song were both written with one of the same authors, Craig Michael Wiseman. So Craig Michael Wiseman has this thing about thinking of death and being remembered. And this particular song from 2004, very popular, Live Like You Were Dying. You know this one? When you get that kind of news, you're looking at, he's looking at an x-ray and it's being explained what's happening to him. And he says, when his friend said, when you get that kind of news and talking about the options and talking about sweet time, it sank in. And you know what you do when you get that kind of news? I went skydiving. I went rocky mountain climbing. I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. All right, so bucket list. You do a bucket list. And then he goes on, country song, into the empathy, into knowing where the heart of things is. And I loved deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness that I'd been denying. I was finally the husband that most of the time I wasn't, and became a friend would like to have. Pretty wise words. I like it that in this country, that one back in 2004 got a lot of playtime. I mean, we're still reeling from 9/11. We're looking at the war in Iraq, Afghanistan. We're having a lot of turmoil. And right in that, to bring it down to the really focus, how am I living my life now that I'm realizing life is finite? My life is finite. It makes difference. Now, I've been quoting from male country singers, and there are a whole lot of female country singers and others out there. And the other thing that came to mind was the band Perry, lead singer, female, and from the Pioneer album in 2013, Mother Like Mine. How many of you know that one? I don't know that it came out as a single ever, but I think it was on a Grammys nominee CD, and sometimes I'll go out and I'll get that nominees, so I know what kind of music is being listened to, and this one I kept, and I keep playing it, and it comes up in my car when it's playing off of my phone through Bluetooth. Mother Like Mine, she's the sky that holds the clouds, she's the lady of the house, a blind believer in all that I dare to be. There's no safer place I've found than the shoulder of her white nightgown. I've got the best and worst of her in me. I'd share her if I could, so the wars would be all over, because she'd raise us all as friends. And no one would ever wonder if somebody wanted them. We'd walk on grass that's greener, and our cares would be freer if the world had a mother like mine. Sometimes the best of what we have in our life is when we've gone to a memorial service, we realize how good we had it, how much we're going to miss, how much we turn around and say, how much does the world miss not having this person still here with us? Country music doesn't shy away from grief the way our culture often does. It goes running from it, tries to have some happy, upbeat, or are you doing better now kind of message. It's okay to be in grief, because from what I've learned of the wisdom of the world's religions, we are deeper in grief anywhere that the streams of love have carved out in the hardness of our heart. That's where those deep canyons of grief go. And they're made by all that love running and eroding our hardness. I love the country songs that can bring that out, that can make me feel a little more in tune, make me feel a little more empathetic, have me connected. And yeah, I know, I was reminded of the joke this morning on the ride over, that when you play a country song backwards, you get your dog back, you get your love of your life back, and your pickup truck, and the plant reopens, and everything goes all right. But really, the joy of the country song is not that everything plays back, or because that's just imagination. Real life is, yeah, the plant closes down, the crops dry up, and we got to be like lichen. And instead of being an individual fungus next to a individual algae or bacteria, yeah, we're humble in country music, aren't we? We join together. Yeah, we're scaly looking. But we make it through the drought. We make it work. We cling to one another. We realize how much living things alone is just something you do when things are all right all around you. And life isn't always like that. Now, I'm preaching out of season, I know, because you all know that since 1964, October is Country Music Month, and Richard Nixon declared it in 1970. But if they can have Christmas in July, we can have country music in July too. Because we need the music, and we need the message, and most of all, we need each other in the face of the heat and the drought and everything else. Thanks for listening in to this country music sermon. Now to think about that as if it were rewritten as a meditative hymn, we're going to sing hymn number 124, Be That Guide. Please rise as you're willing and able. I have some really excellent closing words, and I don't know where I put them. So just be patient. Think of how sad things are. My minister couldn't find his words, and I stood up in front of the congregation and made a fool of myself. I couldn't find the words, and they were there in front of all of us. And there we sat and stood and wondered what was going on. Just give me some coffee, and life can go on. All right. Join together, please. Where hate rules, let us bring love. Where sorrow, joy. Let us strive more to comfort others than to be comforted, to understand others than to be understood, to love others more than to be loved, for it is in giving that we receive, and in pardoning that we are pardoned. Blessings on all of you as you go out and come back again in love.